Please consider supporting Black Women United YEG for the protection and advancement of black women and girls in Alberta. You can learn more about them at bwunited.ca. They are always looking for donations and volunteers. So please, again, support Black Women United YEG for the protection and advancement of black women and girls in Alberta. Again, that website is bwunited.ca.
This is Dmitry Samarov from Chicago, Illinois, and I love listening to Vish Khanna's Creative Control because whether he's talking to a favorite musician or actor of mine or someone I've never heard of, it's as if he's introducing me to a new friend. And the way things are going, couldn't you use a new friend? Listen now.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/creativecontrol today.
Tell me how you love a man who doesn't know that you love him, doesn't know that you care, and that you are here.
Ariel Engel is a gifted singer, lyricist, and musician who lives in her hometown of Montreal, Quebec. As a collaborator, Engel is known for her work with Ephraim Manuel Manock in All Hands Make Light, in the band Aurora, a duo with her husband, Andrew Whiteman, and the couple are also active members of Broken Social Scene. In her own musical pursuits, Engel operates as La Force, which launched in 2018 with a self-titled debut album, and has returned with a stirring pop-oriented follow-up that meditates on death, life, love, and self-preservation. It's called Exoskeleton. It was released by Secret City Records on September 29th, 2023, and it prompted Ariel to return to this show for a discussion about things like Paris, France, Jim Morrison, and The Doors, her relationship with her late father and how it inspired aspects of her new album, religion and superstition, how we view ourselves in relation to our families, being among fellow cynical mystics, collaborating with people like Andrew Whiteman, Shahzad Ismaili, and Warren Spicer, playing cigar box guitars, being a part of a Song a Day project at the invitation of Feist, touring, future plans, and much more. A part of the Entertainment One network with the support of listeners just like you who follow and subscribe to this donor-driven podcast and spread the word about it, and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control. That is the cleanest source of revenue for this show. So if you can support all my work on the Patreon there, that would be great. Thank you so much. Plus, in-kind support from Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee, respectively, in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. This is episode 805 of Creative Control, featuring the brilliant and beguiling Ariel Engel from La Force, with your host, me, Vish Khanna.
All be revealed. All be revealed in time. All will be hoping with me. You told me what must be.
Hi, Ariel. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for asking. Where in the world are you today?
I am in Paris overlooking Père Lachaise Cemetery.
Oh, are you going to go see Jim Morrison's grave?
No, it's not. That's not my that wouldn't be my destination.
There's a lot
I saw Oscar Wilde's.
Yes, that makes
and
sense.
I looked for Gertrude Stein's, and apparently I was standing near it, but I couldn't see it. But I'm going to try again. I'm here for a few days.
I appreciate that. I believe the Lizard King's resting place is usually full of graffiti and visitors, I'm guessing. Have you ever walked by even? I know it's not your destination, but have you ever...
I haven't seen it yet, no. Okay. I think I'm going to look for Colette also. I don't... the Lizard King was never really a big part of my repertoire.
No, I know. I can appreciate that. I guess
I like the organ player though. I like his riffs.
Ray Manzarek, yes,
you go.
He was quite good. Yes, that's true.
Dun, 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 dun. It's kind of like Burt Bacharach. a bit.
Yeah,
some of the
absolutely.
songs.
Yeah,
It's like they're kind of crooners now that I think about it.
absolutely. I think they
And
were.
we were not afraid. What was that promise that you made? Is that him?
That's the Doors. You got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't think we would go on such a tangent, but yes, the Doors. See, the thing is, the Doors were big for me when I was like 11, 12, 13, and then eventually I grew out of it. This was right around the time Oliver Stone put out that movie, The Doors, and
Right.
they were kind of on a comeback. And then I read every book. I watched.
Jim Morrison was still dead, though.
He was still quite.
This is
dead.
a comeback that he probably. I mean, obviously, he didn't get to live.
No, he didn't
the
get
glory
to. He
of-
didn't get to take part in the comeback unless you count
Yeah.
Val Kilmer's depiction of him. But anyway, I just
They
was.
both have close set eyes. I
That's
think.
yes. I was just so immersed that it's never left me. Do you have things like
I
that from
see.
your childhood?
I think, yeah, no, I think that if we encounter things at certain ages, we're so impressionable that they stick, you know?
Yes.
Like I wrote to the AHA fan club at a time when I'm sure the fan club was defunct, but I was like so in love with them.
Yes.
Much too late.
Yeah. Well, I was in the yes, exactly. Like it's vaguely embarrassing to me now, though I don't shy away from it. But I was in the Weezer fan club in high school, and I was
Okay.
member number 1, 2, 3, 4, which I thought was interesting. That was my member number. And the people who ran it got me into shows that were sold out, and it was just a nice.
Right.
So it was kind of a nice thing to be part of a club and be. It was like early days of the internet too, so I wasn't used to being interconnected with people from around the world by
Yeah.
a common interest, and now that's everyone's like, yeah, what's the big deal? Everything's a fan club in a weird way.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right. Oh, there's also OnlyFans.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Does that necessarily have to be like
No.
naked? No, it doesn't.
No, you can do whatever you want with OnlyFans. It's just a premium
Right.
thing. But for some reason, I
Right.
think the majority of people, are doing whatever. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, this is.
I obviously don't have one of those.
No, I wasn't suggest. Okay, that's getting.
I mean, just
getting a little untoward. Maybe I don't know. It's fine. This is
Okay,
the reality
it's
of the
fine.
times we live in, and there are such things, and there's nothing wrong with. Well, there's a lot wrong with the fact that people feel like OnlyFans or these sorts of things are their only recourse in life, but. That's not why we're here today, I don't think. You and I. No. We're not going to solve all the world's problems, but I want to say it's nice to talk to you again. I also want to ask, because I normally would, you say you're in Paris, France. This is not where you live. Why are you in Paris, France?
I'm on tour.
And how is that going?
Last night we played a great show. The night before, not so good. But that's how it is, you know. And you have to not live and die by every show. I'm just happy that it went well yesterday. I'm here as La Force, and I'm opening shows for Patrick Watson. So I open and then I sing with him. And then before that, I did my first La Force headline in London, and then before that, I was in Ireland for a week at this residency that happens in Cork that culminates in shows.
Oh.
Called Sounds from a Safe Harbor.
That sounds like a
So-
full schedule.
Well, yeah, very busy. And somewhere along that, I got a plague that I just worked through.
You got
And,
what? Did you get the?
Like, I just got some kind of nasty flu. But there's something about being on tour that you're just,
Oh,
this happens.
is it? It's likely the COVID, right? There's no. What else could it be at this point? Either.
There are other things.
Are there?
There are flus.
I don't think so. I think COVID took over. It's everything now. That's what. No, I'm making jokes. Are you feeling better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You said you guys played a bad show, or not a great show. I guess is maybe
No,
a better way of putting it. But what did you say? I'm putting words in your mouth.
No. I felt we played a bad show, but then last night we were determined to play a good show, and we got off stage, and I'm playing with these wonderful musicians, Liam O'Neill, who plays with Soons, amongst other bands, and Tom Gill, who plays in so many bands, but
Yeah.
his main project is Bernice.
Yes.
So we're a trio, and I just I'm over the moon. I can't believe I get to play with them.
That's a great band. I love Tom Gill and Liam O'Neill. I've seen in Soons, and I believe you also recruited him for All Hands
Yes.
Make Light. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to double back on the bad show thing, though. Does the bad show necessarily mean the audience was rough crowd, or did you feel
No,
like
the
you?
crowd was really good.
Oh,
They
okay.
were they listened. I didn't lose them. I don't know how, but I didn't lose them. The bad show was like technical problems. Like when I went to play, my amp had been moved by the piano tuner, so there was no mic in front of it. The amp was on the floor. My settings had been changed. It's just like a really unsettling way to start a show, especially when you're the appetizer and they're there for the main course. Like, you just want to get on there and be clear. You want to know what you're doing. And then I fucked myself up. Sorry, am I allowed to do that?
You're allowed to fuck yourself up. Absolutely.
Okay, good. I
Yeah.
can swear. Okay. By like just tuning my cigar box just a bit wrong. But in that moment, I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't remember how to fix it. So it was the art of falling gracefully. That's what I did.
Okay.
And I think I managed that, and that in some ways is what makes the difference between experience and not having experience. That you somehow, even if inside you feel like you wish the stage would open up and swallow you, you just, it's like this kind of, it's called being professional, I guess. And also just knowing that, like, sure, shows matter, but they also just don't matter.
Well, there's another one coming, no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless you stop doing it, but that doesn't seem to be something I'm willing to do.
Well, that's what touring is, though. You have a good night, you have a bad night, you have a great night, and then maybe it settles down again. Yeah, I'm sorry that the piano tuner moved your. That's not your fault.
It's not his fault. It's just that it wasn't put back, and it's a mistake.
It is. Again, you're a veteran. You're a hardened professional. You can.
Everyone's working hard. No one was trying to sabotage me. It was just, shit happens.
Yeah, these things happen. Well, it's nice to know you're on the road and having fun and potentially visiting people's tombs. Everything is going well. I think this is maybe a nice segue into a record that seems to be discussing death, mortality, love. It's a beautiful, beautiful record called Exoskeleton. Congratulations on this, first of all, Ariel. It's wonderful.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, just so people who are listening and maybe not reading, when I say exoskeleton, I'm not saying exoskeleton the way you would think. I believe insects, certain animals have exoskeletons. Did you do any research about this, Ariel? What it means, an exoskeleton?
It's a carapace. It's it's when you wear, it's sort of like having your spine and your bones, the hardness of you on the outside.
On the outside, that's right. But for those listening and not reading, the actual typography, the title is XO, as in, I guess, kisses and hugs. Is that right? Is that what
yes.
Exoskeleton. I don't normally go in right away on a title, but that's a witty title. I think it speaks to some of the self-protection going on this record on some level. Why did that title appeal to you?
I mean, I like a pun. I don't know if that's a pun. It's just playing with language. It's not funny.
It made me smile. I'm not going to say it wasn't like
it's not a laugh.
A hearty laugh, no. But I was like,
no.
Exoskeleton.
But it does tie in a lot of the themes.
Yeah,
and it is about that. It's about protection. It's about the inevitability of death, and it's about how we protect ourselves and we protect the people and those we love, and we try to create a kind of shell for them.
Yeah,
through which to move in the world.
Yeah.
But that really, it is a protection that they will live in while they're alive, but it doesn't prevent you from your ultimate demise.
Yeah.
And also, I think that the title is multifaceted. I don't want to over-determine it for people, but it means quite a bit for me.
Yeah. And by the way, I think it is actually a bit of a pun. I think it does work as a pun because, as I said, I had to. Anyway, it's like a double meaning there. There are songs here that I don't want to use the word haunt. They're catchy, but they do haunt. Yeah. They do haunt me. How Do You Love a Man, for example, just in my head constantly. Did you know that was an earworm when you came up with that?
Yeah, I intended to write, because I'm not necessarily drawn to really standard songs. I mean, I say this all the time. Like, I would say, I like weirder music than I make. Like, this is one of my things. But I think that I remember thinking, I want to try to write a classic sounding song, you know, with like standard chords and a verse and a chord, like the kind of song that people understand the structure of innately in Western music. And I thought it would be, especially that it's a song, in my case, it's a song to my father.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, like, I don't know, like, look, Dad, I wrote you a really classic song.
It's a wonderful song in that, and I hope people will be able to hear it to make up their own minds about it. But I do marvel at the kind of sparseness of what is ostensibly the chorus, and then the kind of almost manic nature of the verses. A lot of words in the verses.
Yes.
And they come at you in a torrent after these very halting.
Am I almost rapping?
Almost rapping, yeah. That's interesting. You've got the kind of deliberate, calm chorus, and then just the outpouring of emotion. You say it's for your father, and for those who don't know, this is your late father, correct?
Yeah, he doesn't seem to show up anymore. He's so late.
Sorry, your father passed away.
My dad died.
Yeah, your dad passed away, and
But it's a larger question about how do we love the dead, and how do we love when the love doesn't feel reciprocated anymore.
You know, it's funny. I knew the context of the record before I was digging into the lyrics and pondering the music here, because you've done the neat trick of. I mean, it's really fascinating music. It's not easy pop music or anything, but it's relatively upbeat music for the most part. But the lyrics are pretty heavy. And as I was thinking about how do you love a man, and reading along as you were singing, I made a note here, and I don't know what you're going to make of it, but I'm going to tell you what the note is right now. I just wrote, "Is this a song about ... God?" Now, I don't know a lot about God. People have different relationships with God, but that's and some people think he's a man. Some people don't know the gender. Anyway, I
mean, how could God have a gender?
How could God have a gender? It doesn't make any sense. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. Just there are some religious images in it too.
Yes, I mean, I talk about going to. I make reference to going with my father to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Which is it's a real event that happened. We went to Jerusalem in 1999.
Yeah.
And had the biggest fight we've ever had at the Western Wall.
Oh.
Yeah, so in one of my verse spiels, I say, oh my God, is it weird? I'm going to like talk my lyrics at you?
Well, I was just about to do it myself, so this is better for you to... I was about to...
No, I'd rather you do it.
Okay.
I'd much rather you do it.
Okay, so if we're talking about the same verse, I picked up on, you laughed at the Wailing Wall, said, look at those superstition freaks pushing notes through bricks as if anyone can really hear them. And then you go on to talk about kind of, I guess... not esoteric things, but sort of universal, like existential things, I guess is a better term.
Yeah.
Did I pick the right verse? Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's superstitious freaks. Is there a little typo in my notes? In my lyrics?
I say here you laughed at the... Yeah, what I'm reading is you laughed at the Wailing Wall, said, look at those superstition freaks. Oh, superstitious freaks. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. I was like, no, it's all been printed wrong.
Well,
we had a big fight at the Wailing Wall because my father was born here. He maintained he was born in Palestine. Mm-hmm. He was a Jew, but born in Palestine, which is great. Yeah. You know, that's fine. Yeah. But let's not get into that.
No.
But so I was like, well, you know, what does it mean for me? Well, like, what does it mean to be Jewish on my father's side? And like, we met up in Israel, and he wanted to show me, you know, where he grew up in Tel Aviv, but we were there together. So we were in Jerusalem together, and my father was like a avid atheist, not just like a mild atheist. He was like, he wanted to fight with people about the complete ridiculousness of God or gods.
Right.
So, you know, he was dogmatic in his atheism. So I remember being in this sort of like, it's like the crush of religion in Jerusalem is just intense. Like the amount of religiosity between, you know, Islam and Christianity and Judaism, and then there's like, it's like Coptic Christians. Anyway, I may be getting it wrong, but it's a place that's like full of fervor. And I remember thinking, like, what does it mean to be Jewish? Like, I grew up without religion, and I was just trying to take it in. I was just watching people davening and slipping notes in the cracks of the Wailing Wall, and my dad just like wouldn't let up. He wouldn't let me just have the experience. He was like, doesn't this bother you? Like, look at them. Look, like they've given so little room to the women, and the men have so much more room. Like, he was trying to ignite me on any front. And that's what he was like. Basically, I don't remember if he said superstitious freaks, but that's how he felt about religious people. And then we went on to the Holy Sepulchre, and our fight continued. And I was just like, just let me be, like, let me experience something. But he was just, I don't know, it terrified him to think that I might have a religious experience.
Yeah.
So then, cut to him dying, and he knew he was dying, so we had time. And I remember sitting at his bedside and saying, maybe I'll see you again. And he very nicely turned down the spice and was like, I don't, probably not. Like, he just smiled at me so nicely. Like, I didn't want to take that from me.
Yeah.
But it's hard to commune with a dead person who has blatantly told you, I have no relationship with life beyond this one that I know.
Right.
So it's almost like I'm communing in a language that we didn't share, and I'm reaching into the void because he didn't believe that he was going to be able to communicate with me. And it's almost like it feels almost like disloyal to seek him beyond the material. But yeah, so it's a religion would have been nice.
I suppose it would. So you grew up, that's how your father raised you. Are you yourself now?
My mom is, no, I'm still, I'm a little more, I don't know. I'm leaving it open. I don't think that he could possibly have that kind of authority.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know, we don't know. I do know that after he died, I also, there's a song on my record called Zipolite, which I didn't know at the time means Beach of the Dead. But in it, like, I had one of those, transcendent dreams that people often have where the dead person visits you and speaks to you wordlessly and just like beams love at you and beams this message of like, everything's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. It's okay. And that was so intense that I wrote a song. I wrote that song about it. And like, it's been a while. This pain is not acute. It's more that death is a fascination for me, and it seems to have a different face with every decade of my life.
Yeah, I want to get into that because it is a central motif of this record.
I think it'll be hard for me to get away from it.
Yeah.
I suspect my next record will also feature death.
Yeah, I picked up on that's something that has fascinated you since childhood. So it's I'm not exactly sure of the timeline about when your father passed away, but it sounds like death impacted you when you were young even. It fascinated you. It compelled you.
Yeah. I couldn't settle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like an obsessive thought. I thought about it all the time. Like, I couldn't just live. I had to always, like, my life was always on the scales,
Yeah. Given the parent-child dynamic that you occupy, meaning you are a child, you were a child, you are a child, you'll always be your parent's child. You're a parent yourself, exoskeleton, protection. I mean, these are parental instincts among other things. Do you feel like there's a song here called October, and some of these lyrics, again, forgive me if I'm not misquoting them. I'm just going to read you what I was sent. So forgive me if any of this is wrong. You've been standing in the mirror with me. It's not fair I can't see you. Not a trick of light. It's a trick of reality. Trick of light. It's a trick of reality. I presume you're talking about seeing the resemblance of your parents in you. Is that right?
Yeah, it's partly that, and it's partly the kind of panopticon that is your family.
Yeah.
It's the feeling of wanting to please the parent, and that you've internalized their expectations and their gaze. So even after they're gone,
Yeah.
you still kind of want to please them?
Yeah. When I was raised, my parents, my mother in particular, I think, who was more vocal than my dad generally, would always try to get us to avoid talking about death and sickness. And I view that now as both a kind of denial, but also a form of protection. So where I'm coming from is you're obsessed with death as a young person, and you're still contemplating it. You've been impacted by it as a child who lost their parent. Now you're a parent. Sorry, can you talk a little bit about the relationship you see between the notion of protection, exoskeleton, if you will, and death and the inevitability of death, and, you know, both shielding your loved ones from pain, and also acknowledging that it's unavoidable. I know it's a big question, but I feel like some of that is swimming around in your lyrics here. Is that a fair way of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I grew up hearing is everything's going to be okay, you know, and that's a kind of a Band-Aid statement, and I understand the impulse, but I think it's unhelpful. And I think that as parents and as people, like I think your mother's instinct to say, let's not talk about illness and death is a version of everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%.
It's too painful.
Yeah.
But I think that it leaves us unprepared for what is truly inevitable.
Yeah.
And I think that my facing mortality is a way of loosening its grip, I guess, so that I can live while I'm alive as opposed to anticipate death all the time.
Do you think we put too much of a premium on making sure everyone is happy to a fault?
Yes. Because then we're like this, you know, I don't know, everyone gets served a different death, but I feel like we have no ritual and we don't seem to know how to engage with it at all, other than this like terror, it feels like. Like just now, I'm here looking over the cemetery, and at night there's something about the way that it's lit up with the street lamps. It's it's like a horror movie. I find it really intense, and I realize we haunt the dead. They don't haunt us. We imbue it with so much. This is our fear, and like, can we? I don't know. I don't know. For all my thinking and obsession, I'm not necessarily that articulate when it comes to this subject, because I really feel like it's just, you know, it's the epitome of the unknown. And, you know, I don't lose sleep over dying the way I did. So something is moving. Something about my relationship to it seems to be better. Or I look at it with more curiosity than dread.
Well, I think we're just in a heightened place of being confronted with how much denial people are in about everything.
Yeah, and I think that's part of our obsession with living forever and our obsession with wellness. And I'm not, you know, obviously you want to live your life and feel as healthy as possible, but I think that there's a sense that if you don't live a really long time, you failed.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not, you know, there's another line in one of my songs in October that I borrowed from Bernadette Meyer. People, animals, plants do what they do today and again tomorrow. And I feel like that resonated because I love the idea of remembering that it's all cycles. These are all just circles, and we leave so something else can come. And in the same way that, you know, we compost and fertilize and things grow, and that rather than seeing our life as this like long thread that we're trying to pull as tight and as long as possible, that really it's about making a circle and accepting that circle. I sound super mystical. I'm not, but I feel like we're a bit crazy. We've become a bit crazy.
Aren't you a little mystical?
Maybe it's happening.
I think based on the last time you were on this show, we were talking about All Hands Make Light, and we were talking about light, and I don't remember specifics, but it felt a little mystical. I'll just tell you that.
Oh, we were talking about gardening.
Yes, we were talking about gardening among other things. That's true. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like you are just at least a little mystical. You know, I was talking.
I'm a crusty mystic, if I am.
You're a cynical mystic. How about that?
Yes, I love
Yeah.
that.
I think
The
that's
Cynical Mystics is
Cynical-
a good band. Maybe that's our band.
all right. Yes, let's trade files or relocate,
Yes.
and we can have a band called Cynical Mystic. I'm up for it.
Yeah.
I was talking to my son last night, because as I'm speaking to you in Alberta, the air quality goes up and down quite a bit. But I mean it because of the wildfire smoke. It's been like high risk according to the measurements. 10 plus, 10 is bad.
Terrible.
Anything 7 and above is bad. Yeah. So he wanted to go out with his friends, and I said, well, you probably shouldn't, but if you have to, please wear a mask. And then at the end of the day, I felt bad, because he was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, why am I even going out? He had this realization, right? And then, my wife and I have these discussions debating it. How is he supposed to have a social life if the world's falling apart? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. But my son and I had kind of a before bed chat. And, my kids wear masks in school. Inside, they wear now because of the outdoor air. Sometimes we have to wear masks outside, and it's really brutal. And my son said, "Well, the world is ending," and my impulse,
so cavalier.
I know, my impulse was to be like, "Well, I don't think the world is ending, but it is changing." And I heard myself saying this thing to protect him.
Yeah.
But I was also astonished that he had that feeling that if the air is always bad, something is wrong. Anyway,
How old is he?
12.
Okay.
Yeah, and my son is pretty astute. He's gone through.
That's what they're growing up in.
Yeah, and I think when I was younger, I was shielded from all that stuff from my parents. The fact that your father, when you were in 1999, I'm guessing you were a teenager at least, if not. Yeah, early 20s maybe, I'm guessing. I'm just speculating. But anyway, the fact that...
in 1999... Yeah, I was 20?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at this.
That's okay. It wasn't... I don't mean to... I'm
22?
guessing you and I...
21?
Yeah, you and
21?
you and I are around the same age as what...
I'm 1977.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, me too. I'm the same. The Cynical Mystic's going to be great. We're already aligned. So, my point is, it's just that I grew up in a place where my parents wouldn't... If I asked them about religion, my parents were very devout Hindus, and where we started to have divides is they'd say, so we're doing this ceremony because of this, and I'd say, sorry, why are we doing the ceremony? And then they couldn't answer it exactly. Like, what is the significance of eating this thing or having this discussion or prayer or whatever? And that's where we started to get divided a little bit. The fact that your father said, can you believe these people? As you're in the heart, like one of the, meccas of religious gatherings. Can you believe these people?
His religion.
His religion.
Too. I mean, the one he was born into.
That is fascinating. That is a openness with a child, and that's where I was coming from with the discussion I've been having with my kids lately of just like, yeah, this is really a fucked up time. I'm sorry this is happening, and I don't know where it's going to end. If we can just try to wait it out, that's the best I got. I don't know. I can't tell you it's good.
I think for parent to parent, I think that's the right answer, because placating them is, I mean, obviously, give them some hope, but I think it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
This is what they're going to face more than we would.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. And the divide right now is that other kids and their parents aren't acknowledging it, and so then I feel like, are we crazy for just paying attention to things?
Are these like climate change deniers, or just people who want to protect their children?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both is what I experience every day at the school. Like,
right.
It's often my kids and their teachers are the ones trying to be proactive about whatever the circumstances in the air, let's say. It's primarily these days, I don't know, man. If you're in a situation where the air outside and inside is always shifting in a negative way,
yeah,
I want my kids to be as happy as possible, and they seem very happy, but it is they're actually quite cheery and happy given everything that's good. They've accepted it. It's just a weird reality for my wife and I, because we didn't have that, right? So you want...
I mean, I will say, this is not to deny what's happening, but I think it's always been the end of the world.
Yes, exactly. But this feels...
Every generation has had its end of the world. This is just one that affects all of us.
Yeah.
The planet won't die. We're just going to eradicate ourselves.
Yes. See? Okay.
And I mean, in that way, I know this is actually the thing that makes me feel better.
It does.
Because when I think that if I think that the planet will truly die, then I can't handle it. But if I think that, we'll just have to make a shorter loop of our life, but then the planet will get to have herself back, then that's okay. Oh, there I am being mystical again.
Well, it's cynical mysticism. I think we've landed on something
it is
here.
cynical mysticism.
Yeah.
It's like, we all die, but
That's okay, as long as we're all dying. It's not like only some
It's
of
fair.
us. It's sort of fair, I guess. It's just, I don't know about you, but and I haven't really examined this.
I don't think we're all going to die in the same way and at the same time.
Yeah.
If the trend continues, I think that, then there's the elite. The elite can protect themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And the Elon Musks of the world,
Yeah, sure.
Koch brothers.
I guess so. I think part of when you make a deal with your partner to have children, you're sending an optimistic volley into the universe that you believe in the future, and
a lot of people don't want to have children because of this.
yes, exactly. Or they're like, what are we doing? If I talk to younger people than I, and they say, well, why would I save up for a car? I'm never going to own a house. How can I possibly afford to have a child? Like it's not, that's real. That's a real thing. And
yes.
And meanwhile, the various governments, particularly conservative ones, want to make sure we all keep having as many children as possible, because then they can be a burden on the government systems, and then we have to pay. You know what I'm saying? I get now. I'm getting cynical. I understand it's a big thing, and I know what's going on, but it's in terms of my own house and listening to your songs, I just can't help but ponder what it means to be alive and where it's going and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, So we've talked about a couple of these songs, and we've touched upon at least your father's influence on your songwriting. Can you, in an overarching sense, like what else are you getting at with some of these songs in your relationship to life and death? I have some notions of this, but I don't mean to suggest this is a concept record, but did you write conceptually in any regard?
There are a couple songs I left off the record because I didn't think they fit thematically. I think that there's things going on when you're writing a record that you're not aware of. You might be, basically like you're kind of in a mode. Yeah. And the other thing that I think, like the song Ouroboros it's about social dynamics, or like how how it's almost like there are in a family or in certain close relationships, you just get into these like another circle again, but these kind of, I wrote it as like kind of a schoolyard rhyme, a little bit repetitious, and the idea is that like how do you break these cycles of discord and repair, and what part of it is your fight, like what part of it is an inherited fight, like kind of like almost like an epigenetic fight that you're playing out with a family member. And it's kind of like it's both about death and love, and it's also about just relationships. Well,
we've been focusing on death a little bit here, obviously, and we invoke the phrase the inevitability of death. But then a chorus on a song like October, I think, is getting to the inevitability of life. People, animals, plants do what they do today, and again tomorrow. People's, animals, plants do what they do. This is what life is. So
also, like we're no more important than animals and plants. And I there's also in this record there's some discussion of hubris. Yeah. Definitely, the last song is a screed. Like I just pissed off on the last song. It's called "Outrun the Sun."
What were you mad about per se?
It's like a free association rap. It's actually stuff that Andrew had written for they're mostly words of Andrew's that he'd written for me. And I recorded it at Shazad Ismaili's studio in New York. Partly, I put down the principal idea there. And it's just about, like, one of the things that will really get me riled up is space exploration. I have a real problem with it.
You mean all these billionaires going into space and whatever? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, or submarines. I just
Yeah.
I just feel like, I don't, of course I don't, people dying in these horrible situations is sad, but I just feel like it's disgusting. And that's just the fastest word that comes to me. I find it disgusting. I just think that, we can't take care of the world we live in, and that we're just people are obsessed with like other planets that might be inhabitable.
Right.
I just think it's fucked. It's so misguided. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't explore space scientifically, but to take joyrides into space for the super rich, I mean, to me, it's like the end of civilization.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the well-heeled will probably be just fine in the event of a major calamity on Earth.
Well, as they already are,
Yeah.
As they already are. There's just such incredible disparity between people's experiences when they come to be born. And it's just this total, it's luck. And at the same time, people are born into, I was born so incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
Universal health care, all the stuff, like everything that I was born into. And I think people forget that it's a lottery, and they think that somehow they deserve it.
Yeah.
They were born into it, and it's theirs, and they deserve it, and they're somehow anointed. And I just, it's that,
Well,
it makes many people angry, but I'm in there. I get very angry when people don't remember, one, that they're animals. I think that we are plants and animals.
Mm-hmm.
We just forget. Mm-hmm. And we treat animals terribly. We treat the planet terribly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going on a bit of a...
Well, part of it...
I have such love for humanity also.
Yeah.
I truly, truly do. And I feel that especially when I travel, because I'm often exhausted and I see so many acts of kindness.
Right, but it's the exhibitionism of selfishness that I think is getting under your skin. Like, if a billionaire went into space, I wouldn't know, and they didn't say anything, I wouldn't know about it, and I wouldn't care. I mean, I would care as much as you care, and that I would probably be like, what the fuck are you doing? However, it's the constant, like, hey, everyone, look at me. Here's what I'm doing with my money, and you guys are all fucked while we try to colonize Mars or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's
enjoy. Why don't you just take a one-way ticket, dude?
Well, I just mean, but part of it is like, I'm not, they don't have to announce every single thing they're doing, but I think that is part of, because I've been wrestling with this. Why do we seem to know so much about what these billionaires are up to all the time? Like we used to, I mean, maybe it's been going on for decades, and I guess it has, if you think of like Howard Hughes or whoever else.
Yes,
like
I was thinking that too.
The Rockefellers, like whoever. Like you kind of hear about the Weston family in Canada. Like you kind of vaguely hear things, but it just seems like these are our villains. That we've all decided that these billionaires are villains, and they are earning their distinctions. However, I
think because we worship the gods of money.
Yes.
So they're both our villains, and I think also they seem untouchable, and they seem to have escaped the rat race.
Right. And they seem to be trying to come up with ways to be immortal. And I think
yes. And I just think, no, dude, or dudette, whoever, the Grim Reaper's coming for you just the same.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that. This is the thing about death. It's just the great equalizer.
Yeah. And I feel like that is something that you explore on this record. That it's...
Yes. Like we all shit and we all die.
Yeah. So in terms of how you're going to marry such sentiments, again, the hooks here are...
it's a pop record.
It is absolutely a pop record, which is an amazing thing given some of the subject matter, I think, that you're getting to. Like, it's really hard... Well, let me backtrack on that. Some of my favorite pop songs, if you will, that have pop structures are really substantive, and they really are saying something. But this is pretty heavy stuff. Was it difficult to kind of come up with, how am I going to kind of score these thoughts, these sentiments? I know you had some collaborators here. Among them, someone from the band Plants and Animals, I believe.
Warren Spicer is a really big part of this record.
Yeah,
he made it with me.
Yeah, so can we get to that?
But lyrically, he didn't. No, lyrically, it's almost all me, and Andrew has input.
Andrew
That's
Whiteman. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So again, let's just get to the sound of this because it's a little synthetic. It's, I guess, what, R&B. It's pop oriented to an extent, but it's also in its own way, I think, if you will, a little low key. It has a gentleness to it, given how heavy
Yeah.
some of the content is. How did you kind of come up with, how am I going to put this all out and get the emotion of the lyrics out there? Because your voice obviously is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
voice. Anyway, I'm rambling
I don't
here.
think about it.
Yeah.
I don't usually write my lyrics ahead of time. The music and the lyrics come together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just what feels right. I don't think about it. It's not a cerebral process for me.
Not in any way. So is it? Sorry, I meant to follow up on this. For those listening, earlier you said something about tuning a cigar box, which I'm sure some people are confused about. That's a guitar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's a distinction for those who don't know about what's a cigar box
It's
guitar?
the body of the guitar is made from a cigar box. It's this guy in Montreal called Daddy Mojo, who's a guitar maker, and he used to make cigar box guitars. That was his first thing. And it's that. It has 4 strings. It's tuned. I tuned it strangely, and I write a lot of my songs on it. For my last record, I wrote Mama Papa on it. I wrote Upside Down Wolf on it. I like it. It's very simple. It has an innate constraint because it's only 4 strings.
And 4 strings, is it like a ukulele tuning? What is it exactly?
Mine is it's like strung right-handed, but I play it left-handed, so flipped, and it's I've left it in this half step down tuning.
Okay.
Andrew and I did a few years ago. We scored a Chalk Circle, the play, for the National Theatre School, and we lent my cigar box to the principal actor, and he restrung it right-handed. And then I forgot about this instrument, and a year later I went to get it, and it had just kind of loosened into being half a step down, and it was flipped. So I ended up writing a whole bunch of stuff on it because I'm not a real guitar player. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing on the guitar.
Sure.
So if you hand me a guitar, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not. I'll try to find something I like, but I'm never thinking, oh, I think it would be smart to go to the 4, and I wouldn't say I'm an autodidact because I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't learned.
Yeah,
but I'm an auto whatever.
Yeah, you just try things and you figure them out.
Yeah, it's all feel. It's all like, does this resonate? Does this feel? Does this feel? Does this feel? I one day may get into, do I think?
Right.
When I'm working, but I haven't gotten there yet. However, it was really important to me that the lyrics have weight and mean something to me because you sing them every night and you want it to matter. You want to be able to connect to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm really happy with most of the, overall I'm very happy with the lyrics on this record.
So you mentioned Warren, so I want to ask about his role in this in terms of coming up with the music. And you mentioned Shahzad Ismaili as well, who, is he still in Brooklyn? Yeah,
he was in, I just saw him in Cork, but yes. Ireland, but he's still in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Sorry, I've talked. He's supposed to be on the show. Actually, we just exchanged some emails, but I met him.
Have you ever talked to him?
Well, yeah, we met him, and sorry, I've told the story a few times. I was road managing the band Royal City in October of 2000, and we stayed. Did we stay with him? We hung out with him quite a bit. I forget whose houses. We were all sort of staying wherever we could in Brooklyn, but
you must have gotten along. I can imagine.
Oh yeah, we did, but infamously, I wasn't on the trip. But he drove some of my bandmates across the Brooklyn Bridge, driving a van with his feet while playing a bass, unplugged bass.
Oh, yeah.
And very eccentric sound.
Oh, yeah, you told me this.
I've told you the story? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It sounds right. It makes sense.
He's a little eccentric.
One time I got into his car and he had so much shit in his car, including an elliptical machine. He also has a very strange car. I could barely get in. It was great. And he handed me a snack he was eating.
Yeah.
I adore him.
Yeah, he's unusual, and I believe we're going to chat. Anyway, sorry. Warren, Shahzad, anyone else, can you talk a little bit about how the music sort of came about beyond your contributions, I mean?
Warren was there for the very, very early on, and we started in a studio, and it was just like, because my songs are rarely finished, so I kind of finish them as I'm recording them.
Yeah.
And we started in a studio, and it was just a lot of pressure. I felt like the scale of the room didn't fit the fragility of the process. So we ended up moving into my basement, where we have a very simple setup.
Yeah.
And we would meet, maybe work about 3 hours a day some days, and he would come over, we'd have toast, we'd work, have some lunch. It was leisurely.
Nice.
But he was wonderful and encouraging, and he was happy to explore with me. He's just an incredible person to work with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a beautiful union of people, I will say, and it's coming across. You're happy with how it's coming across live, I should say.
Yes, I'm very happy with the trio.
Yeah. Is it
very, very happy?
Is there, like I said, there are some, I guess I said synthetic elements, but there's some drum machines and things like that. I think
I always write everything. I write almost everything to an old Korg drum machine.
Yeah.
It has like presets like samba. Or
yeah.
I love that kind of I'm not saying that's a samba, but I'm really attached to this. It's one of my tools. It's a like analog. It won't clock, Yeah. I can't actually use it live, but I love drum machines. I like the combination of live drums and drum machine.
I see.
And
okay.
synthetic and quote unquote organic sounding stuff, and it just needs to feel warm. I don't like to feel that the music is cluttered. I like spare arrangements. I like space.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that most of my music could fit in a parlor,
mm-hmm.
and that you can hear. Some of the songs have more tracks, but that it could be played by 4 people in a room. I don't like wall of sound music when it comes to my project.
I think because you're such a great songwriter and arranger and composer, I think what you've got here with this batch of songs is that you could do this with 18 people backing you up, or you could do it by yourself, and it would still
mm-hmm.
work because the songs are there. And and so I just want to commend you on that. And again, you're 1 in a million voice too, a lot of emotion in it. So I don't know. I will say I feel the words profoundly, and I'm still processing what it all means. But I feel like we got to some stuff about it today that is going to also give me something to ponder about what this all means as a parent and as a human, just trying to navigate life and know that it's finite and all those sorts of things. So
imagine if it wasn't horrible.
Well, I think we do live our lives every day not thinking about it, and I don't think going back to what my mother's impulses and instincts were, why not live life like there might not be any pain in it? Why, I
understand that. I do understand that.
And as I get older, and
I think,
it's just, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead. I understand.
Well,
they're both valid. I don't think there's a better way. I just, I was just tortured by the thought of death, and this is what I had to do. But I think if you can say, look, I know it's coming, and for now, the point of my life is to live it. And, some people just don't fret about it. I have a grandmother who's alive, who's 96, and she said she told my mom that the meaning of life is living, which I think is lovely. Yeah. So and she doesn't worry about death. I don't think she spent very much time. I don't think.
I can see it in people's eyes now that when we talk about the world and life, and inevitably I might say, well, it's not looking good. I mean, if you pay attention to the climate stuff or how we've dealt with this pandemic, like not even the pandemic itself, like how we've dealt with it. I think I
like that you've kept the in front of the pandemic. People say pandemic.
Oh, do they?
Yes, they say during pandemic.
Oh, they do?
It drives me crazy.
I didn't know that.
You'll know. I think you'll hear it now.
My point is that I feel like I think people view it, talking about it, like you're a drag for talking about it. And I used to be like, well, whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to deny reality. But now I look into my kids' eyes or my wife's eyes. I'm like, oh, no, I think I am being a drag just by dwelling on it. But then I'm like, if we don't acknowledge it, we would ignore it, and then that's peril, you know. Like yesterday, I'm like, Michelle, maybe don't do a bunch of gardening if the air quality is 10 plus. Like it's not even, it's off the charts. And then I'm like, who am I to tell someone? Because that's the great argument right now. Like who is the government or doctors to tell me how I want to live my life? If I want to smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day and drink and drive and do this and that, like who are they?
Well, no, drive is different.
Well, I'm just saying I
think that's the big difference.
Right.
If you want to do what you want with your own body without hurting other people, absolutely, but don't get in a car.
No, but that's where I'm at, though. The fundamental point of some of these people is it's my life without acknowledging that they're just...
You mean the libertarian vibe?
Well, the decisions we make as a society to not wear things that protect others or whatever, to do things that don't protect others is inherently selfish, but it is being, it's being presented as libertarian, you know, don't tread on me kind of bullshit, when the real sense of it is, no, whatever happens to you, you're right. That is your right. But unfortunately, we're in a spot where that's going to impact other people. So please don't drive your RVs in the forest because it's causing fires.
Yes.
Please don't, you know, do all this shit that's causing problems for other people, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, see, this is where I start to sound like a drag to people. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess we just don't talk about it so that we don't think about it. But I feel like you and I in our band, what was it called? Cynical Mystic? Cynic what?
Yes.
Yeah. Cynical Mystics? Yeah, the Cynical Mystic band will deal with some of these issues, and it'll be really poppy and fun. But if you read the lyric sheet, you'll be like, man, that guy's a drag. Anyway, sorry, I went on and on there, Ariel. I apologize. What's kind of coming up next for you beyond this? This record's coming out and all those sorts of things, and you're touring already. But what's next? Are you already working on new stuff?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I've booked myself pretty solidly, but I really want to work on stuff. I want to work on stuff on my own, and I want to work on stuff with Tom and Liam. I feel like we have such a nice thing going, and of course, and I say this to myself the last 2 times I've made a record, I told myself I was making a dance record. I mean, it's like a cliche at this point, but I want to make a dance record. You know, my first interview for this record, I was talking to this lady in Germany, and her first question was, why do you have no up-tempo songs on your record? And I get why she's asking me that. I felt, but it was a little bit of I felt like my Achilles heel, you know. It really pissed me off.
Well, as I said, it is pop oriented and infectious. Like I get the hooks in my head, and I'm starting to learn the words. Like I could see myself singing "How Do You Love a Man" to my daughter at bedtime. You know, if I get the words down, that's probably what's going to... Sorry, I'm just telling you a little bit about how my mind works.
It's nice. You sing to your children is what I'm gleaning.
Well, I do. Well, not my son as much anymore. That time has passed for him. But for my daughter, every other night I'm on shift and we read a book, and then I sing whatever I can play on guitar. And anyway, I can see myself...
Oh, you play and sing for her?
Yeah. Is that weird?
Oh, it's so nice.
Well, I try to.
It's so nice.
It's during the pandemic. I decided, like you, maybe not quite like you, but I'm not a great guitar player or whatever, and I just. But I'm gradually. I've had some lessons and guidance, and I watch YouTube videos to learn things. And anyway, I'm getting better at it. All this to say, I learn. If she likes a song, I try to learn it, and then we sing it sometimes together, even. And
you're such a good parent.
Oh no! Sorry, don't. No,
you are. I mean, we've talked a couple times, and I love that your children are really present.
Oh yeah,
It's beautiful.
That's fair. Yeah, we are. We are pretty galvanized, and that's why we can have open, frank conversations, and why my son would feel comfortable saying something like, well, I feel like the world is over. We actually had a debate last night because he's like, well, you're usually right about everything. I said, no, I'm not. Don't say that. I'm not right about everything. He's like, well, kind of.
I'm right about being wrong.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Sorry, I'm bristling at. I'm doing my best. My wife and I are a good team, and we're doing our best and all that sort of stuff. All this to say.
That's what it is. That raising children is teamwork.
Yes, it is. All this to say, to the German journalist, I think there's. I get maybe where they're coming from on the one hand, but I think the hooks are unavoidable. Like they're undeniable what you've come up with here. It is catchy. Yes, there's not a pulsing German techno beat from the 90s or whatever, but within the drum machine stuff, it's like, I don't know.
Well, you can still move to it. You just
100%.
move a little slower.
Yes, it's slow dance sort of music. And then every once in a while.
I call it sad dance party music.
Yeah, but then by the end of the record, there's a real charge to Outrun the Sun. And I wonder if that, would you agree that's a bit of a...
I feel like that's a leading out. Yeah, it's a leading out.
It's a bit of an anomaly on the record, right?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, and maybe...
It was recorded elsewhere, and it's sort of about what's to come, maybe.
For La Force, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, I've been hitting upon
a little rougher, a little rawer, a little
a
little meaner, maybe a tiny bit less palatable.
There's been a number of artists, certainly in the last few years, who say that the last song on their current record might be the gateway into what comes next. So they're creating little continuums for themselves. It wasn't always the case. So all this to say, you mentioned the dance record. So are you feeling like that has to be fulfilled because you've mentioned it a few times to people that you're making?
I think that I'm doing that so that I don't know, making a public promise. Not that anyone's going to hold me to it, but it's just, I got together with the musician Luke. Well, his name's Luke Brenneman, but Luke Temple is or Art Feynman. He also had a band called Here We Go Magic.
Oh yeah.
We got together and did a couple days of work recently, and I was like, yeah, I want to make a dance record. He's like, everyone wants to make a dance record. Yeah. It's sobering. I realize that it's much harder to make a dance record.
Well, it's a conscious proclamation that you're going to try to do something that is fun.
To be fair, like I may make, a largely sad dance record, but just music that's more inherently about, that's maybe a little less lyric driven.
I think maybe what you could, to get your feet wet, this record itself, maybe there's some remix opportunities. You know what I mean? I feel like...
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Andrew will do a couple, but absolutely.
Because again, I think the vocals and the hooks are so alluring.
We could turn it into top line.
Yeah, I think you could. I'm sorry, who am I to say these things? I'm just saying that could be one way to be like, huh.
I'm in the market for top line work too, anytime.
You could do a recontextualization of some of this in terms of that kind of, I say remix is shorthand for like just different music arrangements, like just to satisfy one German journalist.
Ouroboros was fast when I wrote it.
Yes.
I wrote it during this thing called Song a Day, which is like was like this challenge where you had to write a song a day.
I talked to, I think was Hayden in that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many people. I did it at the same time as Hayden. I think I did it 3 times.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of this came out of that. And I did write some dance songs out of that, but they are not in the world.
Yeah. Hayden was on the show to talk about his latest record, which we all love in the family as well, in the house as well. And he ascribed, he thanked, I should say, Feist, Leslie Feist.
She brought him in.
She brought him in, yeah.
Yeah, she brought me in too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the record's great. So you're working on this dance record. Anything else coming up beyond
I haven't been in touch with Ephraim in a while because we're both busy doing different things, but we had plans to figure out playing some shows and also recording more music. So that I think there'll be more All Hands Make Light. There's more broken stuff that I'll do, and is that it? Yeah, I met some new people in Cork that I want to collaborate with. Caroline Rose is someone that I just totally connected to that I really like. It's based in the US. She and I are going to get together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just stuff, see what happens.
Well, that's great. I'm always a fan of whatever it is you do, it seems. So thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to me.
For making stuff. Yeah, where can people go to learn more about LaForce and this a wonderful new record, Exoskeleton?
I'm actually the person behind the Instagram, the La Force Band. There's a website. I think it's probably La Force Band. Apparently, I have a TikTok, but I have yet to do anything. It terrifies me. I don't tweet.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I also have a newsletter, which people can sign up to if they'd like. I write those things too.
Okay.
Yeah, but Instagram is really the place that I go to most.
Okay, so follow. I'll link to some of these things, obviously, so people can follow and whatnot. Yeah. Now, if we can go out on a song from Exoskeleton, so people have a sense of what we've been talking about, can you choose such a song and maybe tell us why it came to mind?
October.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a song that I'm happy with it. Yeah.
As we're speaking, it is almost October. Is there any particular reason that month is significant to you and this song?
Because I'm a goth at heart. And it was written in October. And I think that when you live, where I live, Montreal, October is a really evocative time, where all the leaves, a lot of the leaves are falling, and it's a time of contemplation. There's a sense of death and renewal. There's a sense of death in that, you're going into the deep freeze. And as it happens, not to make too much of this, it's the same month. It's the month in which my father was both born and died. And I was thinking about that circle. And yeah, it's like, it's a really fruitful, it's a beautiful month. It has like a delicious melancholy that is easy to sing about.
Yeah, and in Western culture, the month ends with a fun-filled celebration of death.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
which is beautiful and bacchanalian.
Yeah, exactly. And there's candy. How can you go wrong?
Exactly.
From the beautiful new album Exoskeleton by LaForce, this is October. Ariel, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for always giving me some time, and I wish you the best luck in the future, and I hope we talk soon.
Thank you. I'll never be beyond your approval, even now that I am beyond your gaze. You've been looking at me in the mirror. It's not fair, see you. I'll never be beyond your approval, even now that I am beyond your gaze. You've been standing in the mirror with me. It's not fair, I can't see you. Not a trick of light, it's a trick of reality. Trick of light, it's a trick of reality. October. Like a circumnavigation of the sun. You tell me I keep it for 20
folded like laundry. Dreams are dead and living all the same, equal on imaginary planes. Maybe that's why I'm better in the dark, where the sigh and shiver release their spark. Don't need much light to see this far. Just what is soft and porous, but just what is soft and porous. Ooh, 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 ooh.
I feel very fortunate that Ariel Engel makes time for me on the show. I believe this is the 4th time she's been on the show, which is very nice. And what a lovely and talented person. Thank you, Ariel, for being on this, the 804th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and is available just about wherever you get your podcasts. Somebody just asked about this on my Patreon. It's not on Spotify, but it's pretty much everywhere else. And if you can't find an episode that you're looking for, or if you want to learn more about me and sign up for my monthly newsletter, please visit vishkhanna.com. You can also like Creative Control on various social media things, or follow it. It's on Facebook. You can follow the show on Twitter at vishcreative. You can follow me directly on Twitter and Instagram at vishkhanna. I'm also on Blue Sky and all the other things. TikTok. There's a YouTube channel for the show. That Replacements episode I did with Bob and Ed and Jason recently really took off on YouTube. I don't know who shared that or how it got around, but that thing is blowing up on the YouTube there. Anyway, yeah, there's all sorts of things for Creative Control, so check those out. Also, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation to sustain this show. That is the primary source of revenue for all the work that goes into the show. And if you visit the Patreon, you'll be like, oh my God, how could anyone live off of this? Well, it is a little rough, but this is why we have other jobs and things, right? To take care of our families and whatnot. I'm talking about podcasters and people with Patreons and OnlyFans and all these things. Anyway, if you feel like supporting my work and this show, Patreon's the best way to do it. $6 or more a month grants you access to exclusive content. You get episodes earlier than everybody else. I put up the odd strange thing for my audio archives that I have still. And if you want a Creative Control t-shirt, you can get one there too. Just message me on Patreon and I'll get you one if I still have sizes and colors that you prefer. So thanks so much. Also, thanks to Pete's Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario for their in-kind support for this show. As always, thanks to my dear friend Jim Guthrie. He lends me music for this show. You can learn more about Jim and his work at jimguthrie.org. And finally, thank you so much for listening to this episode with LaForce. Check out Exoskeleton. I'm just increasingly more in love with this album the more I listen to it. I can't get it out of my head. So I hope you'll check it out, and I hope you'll subscribe to this show or follow it and tell your friends about it. And that's all I got for now. Thanks again for being you. I will talk to you soon. So long. Bye for now.